In today's video, I'm going to address a question that one of the viewers posted. And the question was, why don't you just move the crossbar backwards and sit on it to windward and forget about the disc lifter? So that configuration would be just like the International Canoe. The International Canoe has basically a platform that slides left to right, but it's always slid to windward. And it's 6 foot long, and you basically scoot way out on it. It's like a plank, and it puts your center of weight about 6 feet from the center of the boat. So I'm going to go over some interesting facts, data to explain why the lift to leeward with a hydroplaning surface is better than both of those. Okay, first let's look at the side profile of a monohull. Okay, so if this is the bow and this is the stern, the highest drag is at the front where this angle is steepest, and then it transitions to 0 angle. At this point, the drag is very low. And then this is the high pressure side, and then from midpoint to the back is the low pressure side. The only lift that's created on this type of hull is in the front. And at the front, the drag is really high, and at the middle, the lift is 0. So the ideal area of the hull for lifting is right in the middle. It's I call it the Goldilocks zone. It's between 4 degrees and 8 degrees. And so this is where all the dynamic lift occurs on a hull. Because a hull has this back half, the high pressure lift is basically destroyed by the tail end of the hull. And so what happens with a hull like this is, because it's a curve, at high speeds, it wants to suck downward, because this is a lifting surface, but the lift is always perpendicular to the curve. So hulls that have severe rocker, deep rocker, are slower. And the opposite is true. The hulls that are longer, they don't have to be as deep, and they are much faster. So it's really hard to make a short boat go fast. They don't like going fast because the short boat has to have a deeper curve, and deeper curve means more drag. Okay, so what happens with a hull like this? There's really there's not really any dynamic lift, because the lift that is created here, which is ideal, is basically negated by this, where the back of the boat sucks downward. And so all the lifting is done in the front half, and the sucking is in the back. And what that does is it causes the bow to pitch up like this. And for boats that do this, it actually does help in the planing, but the planing occurs back here at the stern, and less in the front when the bow pitches upward. So one thing interesting to note is once the boat gets moving fast, this little surface here, which is the ideal surface for lifting, can lift the entire weight of this entire boat. Okay, here's a nifty little chart that I found from the U.S. Navy on hydrodynamics of planing. And what you have here is this is the aspect ratio. So the aspect ratio is the ratio between the width and the length of any planing surface. And this right here is lift over drag. So obviously lift over drag, you want the highest number. So most windsurfing boards and water skis are way down here in this area. They have an aspect ratio less than half. So half is right here. This is half. So you can see the lift is low here, and the lift increases and it kind of maxes out right around. According to this, this was, and all of this testing was done in like a wave pool. It was all scientifically done at some kind of naval research center. So the law of diminishing returns says that, you know, going above about 2.5 aspect ratio, you're not gonna gain anything else. So I chose for this wedge, I chose mine is between here and here. So that is the aspect ratio. If you compare that with this, you get 29% improvement. That means that you get 29% lift for the same amount of drag, or you get 25% less lift, less drag for the same amount of lift. Okay, here's another nifty chart. This shows the relationship between the angle or the pitch of a skimming surface and the drag. There's two kinds of drag. There's pressure drag, and the pressure drag has to do with the frontal area. And then the other kind of drag is, they call it viscous drag, but what that has to do with is the wetted surface area. So this is frontal area. I'm sorry, the pressure drag is frontal area, and the viscous drag is total wetted area. So you add those two together and you get like a minimum right around 4 degrees. Between 4 and 5 degrees is the minimum. So that's the angle that I chose for my skimmers. And if you notice here, this line is this relationship is linear. So as you increase the angle, your lift increases. So on the front of the skimmer, I chose 8 degrees, and the lift is and the drag are much higher. So compared to here. So what happens is on the skimmer, if you encounter a wave, the wetted area will increase temporarily, but the lift will shoot way up to here. That should cause the skimmer to rise over the waves, and then it'll fall back down over the backside of the wave. Okay, here's one more nifty little chart. It's extremely nifty, by the way. So these are vector charts based on, okay, if the boat speed and the wind speed are the same, then you get a 45-degree angle, and that means your boom is going to be, angle is going to be this. A Hobie 16 apparently, according to the internet, can go 1.7 times the speed of the wind, and according to the book that I bought by Bethwaite, he designed the 49er skiff. That one can go 1.8 times the speed of the wind. So, this chart shows 1.5 times the speed of the wind, and this one shows two times the wind. So as you go closer to the wind, you have to sheet in your sail tighter, so your boom angle gets more in line with the boat. Okay, so down here is my new Wingmaran 12, which I'm developing into a kit, and this is a Hobie 16. The weight of the Hobie 16 is 320 pounds, and I'm just using a number of 180 to represent the weight of crew. When you're on a trapeze, you can lean over the edge, and the farthest you can get is about 3 feet over the edge. And then there's the ratio of the weight of the crew to the weight of the boat. So because the weight of a Hobie 16 is more than the crew, the net total weight moves less than 50% from here to here. It's like 37%. So that is the total distance between the downward force and the upward force. And that distance is that. about 78, 79 inches on a Hobie 16. And here's my boat. My cross beam is 8 foot long. The skimmers add another 3 feet. I'm assuming that the weight of the boat will be 140 pounds. The weight of one crew will be 180. Because of the ratio of the crew weight will actually be higher than the weight of the boat. So that means this dot moves, is actually closer to here than it is to there. I forgot what the ratio was, but I recorded it and moved it over. So interestingly enough, if it's true that the lift generated by this float is such that it can support the whole weight of the boat, then the pivot point, the center of lift, will be here on this leeward float. And the center of mass will be here. So that yields the same distance, 78 inches. So this little 12-foot Wingmaran should be able to carry the same amount of sail area as a Hobie 16 because it has the same riding moment. So riding moment, it basically comes down to the distance between the center of lift and the center of mass. And that's true of all boats. All right, here's one more nifty little chart. This one's not as nifty as the other one, but it's still nifty. Okay, so a skimmer has, so static lift is just the buoyancy of the skimmer. And then dynamic lift has to do with the speed of the boat. And I figured out what the formula is. And this is the formula right here. There's always a constant, but the multiplier is, the speed of the wind squared. And I figured that out just based on observation, noticing that at about 8 knots, a skimboard will support the weight of an adult. So the weight of an adult is 80 kilograms, and the weight of the buoyancy is this. So that comes to 92 kilograms. So that's 202 pounds. Now, it's very interesting that the total weight of the boat will be around 360 pounds or so. So that means if you're traveling 11 knots, all it takes is 11 knots, and that leeward skimmer can support the entire weight of the boat plus the crew. And if you have 2 crew, that goes up to approximately 14 and a half. And what that means is with 2 crew, you could have a much bigger sail. But with the standard sail, this means you can go at least 11 knots, and the skimmer will never sink. And so what happens? Instead of sinking, it starts to lift the main hull. And it has to do with this number. The force of the sail cannot overcome this number. So the hull starts to lift out of the water. And remember, the hull is non-ideal. It's not an ideal surface. The skimmer is. So that is why the total drag will go down as the skimmer touches the water, because it lifts the main hull out of the water. And may I say, today's show is brought to you by Kiva Teas. Kiva Teas. Look it up. I'm actually on a road trip myself. My road trip is designing this boat. My family is out on a road trip. They're out in Utah. They're driving to California, and I decided to skip it because I would much rather finalize the design of my boat, do all my testing while it's nice and warm.